There is a story, there are some stories that are really worth telling because they are stories that give hope, that encourage, that are just beautiful. Today, we're telling you the story of a magical place, a pearl of Sardinia, a small island. Actually, it's a peninsula because you can get there even on foot or with a boat. It's Culuccia Island, a place that has been preserved, saved. It has become a reserve of biodiversity of the Mediterranean maquis, really very important. All the endemisms, all the creatures are studied there. There are a lot of research projects to tell us about it. Rita Salimbeni, environmental journalist, came today to visit us. Dear Rita, nice to see you again. How are you? Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. So tell us about the characteristics of this place that I said it's an asset and it's a place that has been really saved, Culuccia.
That's right. So in the meantime, let's position it geographically. It is located right within front, in the background, the island of La Maddalena. We are in the land of Gallura, and between Santa Teresa di Gallura and Palau, it is an island, not an island. In fact, it is an isthmus of land connected precisely by this strip of sand, also through a little bridge carriageway.
Is imaginable. Here we see it in the picture. Look how beautiful it is and how just there is nothing on it. There are two ancient buildings, yes. In fact, however,
in the meantime, we have to start from a fact that it is a real example of Mediterranean scrub, as you were saying, an oasis of biodiversity teeming with animal and plant species really of very rare beauty. And it has in fact already been since declared an oasis of wildlife protection and since area of public interest, which therefore protects its whole system of
especially survived tourism, speculation of litigation.
A very special history, Culuccia, because it belonged to a Sardinian gentleman who protected it until he was the owner. What was the name of this gentleman? He was known Angelo Sanam. He was known by everybody as Uncle Agnuledu, and he resisted. Here he is. Is that him? Yes, that's right. Everything is beautiful. And he had resisted.
And he resisted it to the last, yes,
to
all the proposals that were coming
to him. Made to him, of course, by those who wanted to make tourist leisure speculation. And he resisted. Then, after his death, actually, the island went through a period of neglect until precisely when it was acquired by an enlightened entrepreneur and his wife, I would say, super enlightened. For Piedmont, who insisted, however, that according to the wishes of Angelo Sana, it should remain there and have preserved its exact naturalistic heritage, but also guaranteeing that minimum, let's say, of enjoyment, but with a very low anthropic impact. You were just talking about these two architectural solutions that are actually called stazu and are the typical houses of Gallura, where families who had house, land, animals in an economy of self-sufficiency lived precisely. Is this known? What has become of these buildings? They have precisely restored them, however,
Subtitles.
With an absolutely restoration.
Respectful of what it is. So let's connect, then let's go back and talk to Rita. Let's connect with Sabrina Rossi, who is the director of the Culuccia Island Nature Observatory, because Culuccia has now become an extremely important place for research, for biodiversity conservation. Hi, Sabrina, welcome to join us. Where are you right now?
To everyone, I am along the southeastern coast of Poligna, between the Mediterranean scrubland and the sea. Here the scrub is very fixed, lush, and composed of many different species. Here we can see some of them. There is, for example, the cistomais, the Sirea, the Jungo Fidente, and then on the beach there are traces of marine life. Wonder?
Look, are there many research projects, Sabrina, on the island?
We have several. Some we do independently as a nature observatory, others in collaboration with RaiTre.
The Polytechnic University of Turin, the University of RomaTre, and the University of Sassari.
But also with local part entities. For example, we have here near the Magdalena Archipelago, a geomineralogical museum. In
What are the special riches of Culuccia? At the level of biodiversity of specimens?
Right now we are focusing both on land, but also very much on the sea. An important project that is continuing in collaboration with universities, which I was telling you about, is called Poseidon, National Research Project, which aims to map sondes and monitor the status of the Posidonites, which are submerged meadows formed by a marine plant, Posidonia oceanica. Here on the beach, there are parts of Posidonia that have been bleached, while from the shore also here, this submerged meadow develops. There are, for example, parts of its leaves, parts of its stem, and these that are called egagro are little balls of the stem fibers rolled up by the movement of the waves on the shore.
Are there laws and measures that have been taken just to protect the marine biodiversity of this stretch of sea?
Fortunately, yes. In fact, the sea surrounding Culuccia is part of a European network of protected areas called the Natura 2000 network. In particular, these waters are protected for the presence down of Chinoxidortium because we often see swimming off the ladder for 4 uncommon seabird species.
How nice. I envy you. I would love to be there with you this afternoon and enjoy this really magical place, which is a visitable place. Can you come for visits?
Yes, that is one of the activities that as an observatory we do. We accompany visitors who are curious about our island, 3 to 5 points guided tours within Culuccia.
So I thank you so much, Sabrina. Good work. It was great to see you, to look closely at those crystal clear waters, to know that they are protected, that they are full of life. Thank you and good work. I go back from Rita to Salimbeni also for invertebrates, bees, butterflies. There are projects because so many species have been found that are epidemic, that were unknown, right?
Projects that have been precisely implemented on the island together with the observatory, as Sabrina Rossi said, because we remember that it is also known as the island of cows. They are...
Yes, we saw earlier the cows in the film. Those
of the autochtone cows,
beautiful
yes.
cows.
Here they are autochtone cows, so much so that the Department of Agriculture, just animal science of the University of Sassari, did some sampling on these cows. They live there in the wild state. That's really the characteristic. That's why it's also called the Island of Cows.
This place.
And so much so that I was there exactly a year ago. You find on the island scattered so many small shelters or watering holes for animals also, donkeys and other species of animals also. Yes, and then here are the donkeys, and as you were saying, there is a fantastic world above the land and below the land, because Culuccia is home to as many as 3 different types of coastal, maritime and terrestrial ecosystems. And speaking of just here are the ermitae, testugines, and these researches that you mentioned. You actually started to do them as early as January 2022. Researchers from the University of RomaTre, together with Professor Mariottini and Andrea Di Giulio, who is an entomologist, and they even monitored and identified 80 species, almost 80 species of bees that represent almost a quarter of the known bee population on the island of Sardinia, in whole 23 species of butterflies, and also 60 species of spiders. Paradise.
For our Emmanuel people? Yes, because entomologists, it is called
certainly,
tapina.
even the Swabian Polytechnic University of Turin has done a line of research, mostly technological, because it has mapped the whole coastal part with the use of drones, also of terrestrial laser scans, and also started those seabed mapping works that Sabrina mentioned earlier that gave birth to the Cosetta project.
We can say that just Culuccia is a real pearl. It's a treasure. It's a treasure that it's important that we were able to preserve it with the people who bought it, the great love for nature and humanity. This really shows to be people who love humanity. Thank you, Rita Salimbeni, environmental journalist. Thank you, and see you next, my dear.